NFL Week 15, we got picks, we got storylines, and a new segment. Cue the intro. Let's check out what was happening in Week 14. Let's do some recap. The New England Patriots got destroyed by the Los Angeles Rams on Thursday Night Football. The Patriots only able to muster up 3 points and a few red zone opportunities. Cam Newton having a bad day, the offense having a terrible day, and the defense honestly just looked more or less like a pushover. The Los Angeles Rams and Cam Akers had their way with the New England Patriots. The Miami Dolphins managed to get a few turnovers against the Kansas City Chiefs this past Sunday, even a couple of interceptions on MVP frontrunner Patrick Mahomes. Alas, it just wasn't enough as the Chiefs rounded off 28 straight points on their way to a victory against the Miami Dolphins. The bye week served the Tampa Bay Buccaneers well as they rebounded against the Minnesota Vikings with a little assistance from Dan Bailey as he missed 4 field goals. Derrick Henry once again became the human wrecking ball, destroying his consistent victim in the Jacksonville Jaguars for over 200 yards and a couple touchdowns. The New Orleans Saints fell to the Philadelphia Eagles in a surprise upset led by Jalen Hurts. His first start as a quarterback in the NFL, the Heisman candidate last year, impressed, and the Philadelphia Eagles have a little bit of hope moving forward. Washington secured first place in the NFC East with a victory over the San Francisco 49ers and Kyle Shanahan. The Baltimore Ravens secured a huge victory over in-division rival the Cleveland Browns in a tight, contested one. Lamar Jackson exited for some very sketchy reasons later in the game, but came back just in time to help them win the game, to not send the game to overtime on a Justin Tucker 55-yard game-sealing field goal. And we're heading into Week 15, so I think it's time that we take a look at all of the teams that have been eliminated from playoff contention. Surprisingly, no one in the NFC East is technically out of the hunt just yet, so all AFC teams at Week 15 are out of the playoffs so far. Let's just salute the fallen franchises that will not be making a Super Bowl push this season. The New York Jets, the Los Angeles Chargers, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Houston Texans. But now I think it's time we look forward to Week 15. What are the storylines heading into this Sunday? Some of the big matchups to keep your eyes on. A really top tier matchup here. The Kansas City Chiefs taking on the New Orleans Saints. A lot of great matchups here. Tyreek Hill and Michael Thomas. Two very solid defenses. Two great head coaches in Sean Payton and Andy Reid. And of course, just some dynamic offensive play from both sides. Spearheaded by, of course, once again, the quarterback MVP frontrunner, Patrick Mahomes. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Arizona Cardinals going to be another fun matchup to keep your eyes on. Jalen Hurts getting his second start for the franchise, and Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals trying to keep their playoff hopes alive as they remain in the hunt. Baker Mayfield and Kevin Stefanski and the Cleveland Browns with a new feel and a new look and everything, having a Sunday Night Football matchup against playoff hopeful the New York Giants, getting back Daniel Jones for this matchup. So, playoff implications on the line here. The Cleveland Browns, if they win out, they definitely are securing a spot, and the New York Giants just trying to hope that a few things fall their way. Now it's time for a new recurring segment of the week. Fantasy football, it's slowing down, it's coming to a halt, and if you won your championship, congratulations. Awesome, and I hope I helped you along the way with a few pieces of fantasy advice. But it's time that we move on to something different. Gotta fill the time, gotta fill the space with something, and it's gonna be our take of the week. Alright, and so to start off the new segment, I'm going to start with this. The Pittsburgh Steelers are overrated. And I know I'm not the first person to say this. I know you see it every other media outlet probably talking about this. Fox Sports 1, Sports Center, ESPN, all of those networks have already had some people talking about this. And for the last few weeks, we've seen the Pittsburgh Steelers decline. Ever since that Baltimore game where they narrowly beat a Ravens team that didn't even have their starting quarterback and half of their starting roster, they narrowly beat Baltimore and Robert Griffin III. Ever since then, it's just been a downward slope, right? The cracks have emerged, the pillars have begun to fall, and the Pittsburgh Steelers offense has looked exposed. Against some teams with some teeth, with some good defenses in the Buffalo Bills and the Washington football team, the Pittsburgh Steelers have looked pretty pedestrian. Right now on the season, Pittsburgh's only averaging 89 rushing yards per game. That is 31st in the NFL, and 249 passing yards per game. That's just middle of the pack. So even having all those dynamic offensive weapons isn't doing enough for Pittsburgh to stand out. Now, I can already hear you saying it, but Tristan, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they've got a really good defense. They got TJ Watt, they've got a pass rush, and you're right, that's true. I mean, that's phenomenal. I think TJ Watt is a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. He could very well win it this year. I wouldn't be shocked to see it, but that's what's carrying this team right now. I know similar points have been made, but they look a lot like the New England Patriots of last year, where their first chunk of their schedule was somewhat of a cakewalk, a lot of easier teams. And again, you can only play who's in front of you, whoever you're scheduled, the dominoes fall as they do. But they look very similar to a Patriots team from last year that was quarterbacked by Tom Brady, that offensively just wasn't very inept. They didn't have a lot of firepower, and then defensively, they were just shutting down teams. And their biggest wins on the season so far have been against the Tennessee Titans with a few interesting calls near the end, and the Cleveland Browns, who, you know what, now they're looking pretty good as they approach first time in years 10 wins on their schedule. So look, I'm gonna give them some credit. They played a few good teams, but they've certainly played their fair share of bad teams. The Baltimore Ravens honestly have not looked very efficient offensively for the entire season, barely beating them when they had Robert Griffin III quarterbacking half of their starting roster. Bill O'Brien's Houston Texans, and we all know where Bill O'Brien is now. They barely beat the Denver Broncos. They beat Daniel Jones and the Giants. And honestly, the list goes on and on. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, I mean, they got 11 wins. Congratulations to them. They're gonna make the playoffs. They're a shoo-in to get in. I think they could very well finish the season 13-3, maybe 12-4 at worst. But this Pittsburgh Steelers team, I'm sorry, they're not the best team in the AFC. I don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers have enough to go to a Super Bowl. And although I love Mike Tomlin, I think, again, they have some good players on that defense. The Pittsburgh Steelers just don't have that teeth right now. They don't impress me. You watch them on tape, you watch them, they don't pass the eye test for me. And against good teams down the stretch right now, the Pittsburgh Steelers are showing their true colors, and they're just not the squad that their record indicates. And my apologies to Steelers Nation, Steelers fans, it just is what it is. This team is not gonna sniff the Super Bowl, and that's the take of the week. But let's move on to the final part of the video, and it's time for some picks. We got a couple games this upcoming Saturday, so let's start off with those. Buffalo and Denver, gonna be a fun matchup to watch Josh Allen ball out. I'm gonna take the Buffalo Bills. Carolina and the Green Bay Packers, Packers all day. Houston and Indianapolis, Houston no longer fighting for a playoff spot. Give me the Indianapolis Colts. Detroit and the Tennessee Titans, Titans are ramping up. Derrick Henry ramping up at the late part of the season. Give me the Tennessee Titans. Chicago and Minnesota, Minnesota fighting for playoff positioning, trying to get into the hunt. Give me the Minnesota Vikings. Jacksonville and Baltimore, Baltimore finding a spark against the Cleveland Browns. Give me the Ravens. New England and Miami, I think New England's playoff hopes end here. Give me the Miami Dolphins. Tampa Bay and Atlanta, that 32nd ranked passing defense for the Falcons is going to be shredded by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. San Francisco and Dallas. Dallas putting up a fight last week against Cincinnati, but Kyle Shanahan, I think he and Robert Saleh are gonna have their way. Give me the San Francisco 49ers. Philadelphia and Arizona, gonna be a fun, interesting matchup to keep the eyes on, but I'm leaning Arizona in this one. The New York Jets and the Los Angeles Rams, the Jets continue to slide. Give me the LA Rams. Kansas City and New Orleans, gonna be a lot of firepower in this one, but give me the Kansas City Chiefs. Cleveland and the New York Giants, give me the Cleveland Browns. And then finally, Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. This one's gonna be one of those walkover games for a pretty decent Pittsburgh Steelers team. Give me the Pittsburgh Steelers. But thank you so much for watching. All my social media is down in the description below. Feel free to stick around, watch some more content. Also, feel free to check out that new channel intro. I worked hard on it. And of course, like, comment, share, subscribe, get the bell on to know every single time I'm dropping a video. My name's Tristan Blake Rines, and I'm gonna catch you in the next one. Adios.